I'm rebuilding Kentucky in college football 25 and not stopping until we win a national championship. The Wildcats are my favorite college, so I'm thrilled to finally start a rebuild with them, but it will be harder than my last two because it's the hardest difficulty from here on out, and I feel like I could win a championship in just 5 seasons, so if I can't, I'll be giving away a copy of college football 25 to a random commenter. Either way, I'm going until I get Kentucky that beautiful trophy, and starting at an 84 overall, we're not in a bad spot. The main issue though is the Wildcats play in the SEC, which starts out with 9 of their teams ranked, and instead of taking over for head coach Mark Stoops, I'm going to go over and create myself, which I haven't done before in any of my rebuilds, and I think I'm going to start out with Motivator. This time around, Bordeaux is no longer considered as profanity, so somebody at EA must have changed it, and you all will never know whether or not this is actually my face scan. Just looking at Kentucky football history, I know that I'm taking on quite the task here, which is why my goal is only to win 7 games, and not having any skill points in anything is going to be a long journey to the top, but the reason I chose Motivator is because once you get to tier 3, all of your offseason training boosts are increased by a ton. It looks like my offensive and defensive coordinators are both elite recruiters too, which should help us still. And we all know that Kentucky plays cupcake teams out of conference, so outside of all those SEC games, we're going to have at least a few free wins. Meeting the team's not too exciting when you realize that most of our best players are going to be gone to either the NFL or graduation after this season, but we do have quarterback Brock Vandagriff, who's only a junior, and he transferred in from Georgia, so I'm excited to see how he does in the 2 seasons that we're going to have him at Kentucky. The other player I want to point out is junior wide receiver Barrion Brown. It's so easy to bomb defenses with him over the top, and when you combine 98 speed with that platinum takeoff ability, there's only so much you can do. Since we're projected to finish 10th in the SEC, my only goal in season 1 is to make a bowl game, maybe win 7 or 8 games, and from a school grade perspective, we still have some work to do because stuff like Kentucky's academic prestige is never going to get any higher. Luckily, of the players that are interested in coming here right off the jump, I see this wide receiver from Kentucky. We have a tier 4 pipeline, and that should help us make sure that we land some of these guys. I might as well go after the 5 stars too. I mean, we have 21 team needs, which is a lot of different holes to fill, especially more on offense than defense, but it's going to take me a while to figure out which of these players we actually want to go after, especially since I still have to scout all of them, so I'll get back to you all when I do have all of that sorted. Well, I want to be excited as I scroll through these 14 prospects that I'm putting 50 points on each. I have 700 recruiting hours, so I just split it up that way. But as I do that, you're going to notice that on each of these overviews, we're pretty much losing the battle to every single one of these programs. And that's hard because we need a position like quarterback where either Tyler Hoff or Lane Bliss would be amazing, but I don't think we're going to get them. And surprisingly, this is the recruit that we have the best chance of landing, a 5-star right end that was also a gem. I'm really hoping that things change after this first game, which I ended up simming because I want to jump into this South Carolina one, and it was perfectly fine. We won by 21 points while Brock Vandagriff threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. I know that we have a solid roster, but the SEC is going to challenge us. And just looking through some of these prospects, I'm going to have to cut my losses at some point, but there's other guys that we are competing for, and if we've unlocked enough interest, we can already go ahead and hard sell them. Even 5-star Mike Everett's considering us if Wisconsin doesn't get in the way, but as a Kentucky fan, I'm very used to Wisconsin ruining amazing things, so we've kind of lucked out that our defensive coordinator has this ability that allows us to put more points on defensive linemen. I think that's going to make a big difference for us, but I just want to play a game at Kroger Field. And our guys are coming out of the tunnel. It could very well be me in the crowd there. I've attended so many games whenever I lived in Kentucky, so I'm really hoping that we don't lose to South Carolina, and that throw was almost a laser. It wasn't though, and on a 3rd and 10, Barrion Brown is going to fail to hold on, so we're tying it up at 3, but this is one of my first times playing on Heisman. That's what all my rebuilds were on NCAA Football 14, but I wanted to give myself a second to figure this game out, and I'd end up scoring a touchdown. Now I'm in a position to score another one, and with the jet sweep, there is no way that they're catching us. Our defense has seriously been incredible throughout this entire matchup. It's supposed to be solid in real life, but I didn't think we'd hold them to 3. And even if the Gamecocks would eventually score after they completed that pass, we're still in a great spot. I've been having a field day thrown against this defense because Brock Vandagriff is putting the ball in the right spot, and it seems like playing on Heisman difficulty didn't affect Kentucky at all. I'm excited for what the future holds, but Georgia's next week, and the one good thing about starting as a low overall coach is I'm going to level up a ton. It hasn't affected the players that want to transfer either. Only a punter has a risk of transferring, and it didn't take long for me to get my Wildcats in the top 25. I think we're in for a rude awakening in the next one though, so I'm relieved to see that we are in first place for these 6 players that are all gems I found, including the 5-star Mike Everett. I'm so excited about him. I also should point out either Tyler Hoff or Lane Bliss because they are similar players and all we need is one of them, but I guess we could use both considering our team needs say that we need 3 quarterbacks. For now though, what I'm really worried about is this game at home against number 1 Georgia. I want to pull off the upset. upset. And we can't afford to not pick up this 3rd and 10. They've sent in a blitz, but we got the pass out in time. We're also going to break a tackle and we can start celebrating. Okay, maybe that was a little bit too soon, but that's exactly what I was hoping for. And now on this 3rd down, I couldn't get there in time. Unfortunately, that would lead to a touchdown, but I'm sure we're about to get into the end zone again. And I'm pretty happy with how this first quarter's gone, because normally when we play them in real life, Kentucky never scores, so I'll definitely take this. A little halfback toss might be all that it takes for us to get another touchdown, and it is, which means Kroger Field is pumped up for this 3rd down play where Carson Beck takes the sack. As you can see, it is still tied up with a minute left in this first half, and we're going to take the out route to try and get the first, but we were marked a little bit short there, which means we have to be aggressive, and the jet touch pass is what I wanted to go with on this play. We're going down at the 10. You all wanted good gameplay from me, and this is probably the best that I've played in any of my stuff so far, but that's because I'm using Kentucky, so even though it's on Heisman, it just means a little bit more. And we have a chance to end this first half with a lead, but we had a player get in the way, so now I have to decide whether or not to be aggressive. I think if you have an opportunity to go up against Georgia, you have to take it, but how this game ends really depends on what our defense does on this 3rd down, and we held them to a field goal where they are going to make it, but apparently one of our players hit their kicker after the play, and I had zero control over that. That meant the Bulldogs got a touchdown instead of a field goal on that drive, which really hurt us, because we lost all of our momentum, and ever since then, we haven't been able to score any points either. I think with about a minute left on the clock, we're about to get in again. Brock Vandegrift made it, but we're still behind by at least a possession, and if we don't get this 2-point conversion, it would be 5 points where we are going to be knocked down. To be honest, I think we just have to kick it deep and hope for the best here at Kroger Field. I'm going to run commit, I'm going to stack the box, and we're going to hit them hard, but if they pull out a pass in this formation, we're in trouble. I think they're just going to run it again though, and we are all over it. So with 28 seconds left, we have an actual chance here, and I almost want to step up and just throw it up to Berrien Brown. I know he's quick enough to get by number 1, and if that's not going to work, we'll have to move it a little bit smarter down the field. I'm really hoping that this is cover 1, but it looks like it isn't. They got pressure in. They've also forced a fumble, and you've got to be kidding me. We almost beat Georgia. That was such a heartbreaking way to lose to the Bulldogs. I really thought I was about to pull that off in year 1, and Carson Beck was a problem, but at least he's a senior. It's crazy that losing to the number 1 team caused us to lose out on these 3 recruits, and then have some of our best players want to transfer, including Maxwell Hairston. That's why we have to redeem ourselves against Ohio, and this is only year 1, so I'm probably going to sim till the Florida game, and then the other one I really want to play is this one against the Cardinals. Then checking back in on recruiting, I might have made a mistake going after so many high prospects as Kentucky, because on this 5-star, Wisconsin's starting to catch back up, and I think if anything, I'm going to have to schedule visits as soon as possible or else we're going to lose it. I mean, we just lost this left end to NC State, and then this guy chose Notre Dame over us. But the real upsetting thing is both of these quarterbacks are looking to go to other SEC schools, and even though on the field we'd redeem ourselves against Ohio, I know that Ole Miss on the road is next up on the schedule, and no matter what the result was, James Amerson, the wide receiver, was going to commit. We did lose both of those QBs like I said we would though, and I'm going to have to find some new players to target because right now this class of guys looks terrible. We need a quarterback, and we might just have to go down the athlete route because besides this 4-star, pretty much every other player we have a deal breaker on. I think the athletes are the ones you want to scout though, because this quarterback has 96 throw power, 95 excel, and even with some of these other stats, I'm going to go after him even though he's a 3-star. We need somebody because when I don't play against these good opponents, we're getting blown out by 32, and this is just unacceptable. How did Ole Miss beat us this badly? I'm also very curious on why this is labeled a rivalry. I didn't even realize it ever was one, but I guess it is, and you've got to be kidding me. We lost the 5-star right end that I wanted to Wisconsin. I can't stand the Badgers. It's really starting to feel like I should have gone after some more 3-stars. I'm going to schedule everybody for a visit that I can against Auburn though, and just by advancing the week, we picked up our 2nd commit. During that same time frame, we got locked out from 3 more players, but it looks like some of our corners have less of a risk of transferring, and there's no reason we should have won SEC Defensive Player of the Week if he had no turnovers and no touchdowns. It's probably great for development though, so 8 tackles is all it takes. Now we're playing at number 4 Florida, and I said I wanted to hop into this, but it's going to end badly. First, I want to point out though that Larry Lugo is so close to committing, and I really want to land that 5-star since the rest of these guys are still going to take at least a few more weeks to choose a school. But before any of that happens, of course, we have to travel to the swamp like I was saying, and as sick as the intro was, I cannot let my Wildcats get destroyed by the Gators. Growing up, we were on a 30-year losing streak to Florida, so that's why I take this so seriously, and dropping that pass is actually criminal. I have to attempt a 50-yard field goal, but it's in. That actually makes me feel a lot better on a 3rd and 12 too. I don't think Graham Mertz is going anywhere, but that should have been considered as a fumble. Brock Vandegrift is still cold, even though we've been playing for almost a quarter and a half now. And as you can imagine, throughout this game, it's not led to us scoring many points, but our defense has also given up touchdowns we really shouldn't. And I thought the transition transition over to Heisman was going well, but the swamp has been very confusing to play at, which is why I was hoping that we could get stuff going on the ground. 3rd and goal, we pretty much have to score on this drive to stay in the game, but we dropped it again. The play art's not even correct for what I'm actually calling here. I needed a reminder of it, and Vandegrift is going to have to run all the way. He fumbles it into the end zone though, and Florida picked it up. Our last real hope is holding them on this 4th and 2. I sent in a blitz, and they also dropped the ball, but believe it or not, we are still struggling offensively, and Brown is going to hold on. That does give me a little bit of hope as we drive down the field and have him open. But what really has surprised me is whenever I simmed the extra point, the computer actually went for the 2-point conversion. That means a defensive stop would give us a chance to go for the win, but we still have to make that happen, and they're just going to hand it off where our defensive line brought him down. It looked very clunky there, but I'm not going to complain. Whatever it takes to beat the Gators, they've gone with it on the ground for a 3rd time, and we've already lost to Georgia in a situation like this, but I'm afraid it might happen in this game too. How did they tip that? I didn't even make it 2 plays in that drive in the swamp, and winning a championship with Kentucky on Heisman might take me a while. I keep leveling up though, and I'm going to start pouring all of my points into these motivators. There's a lot of offensive linemen, so I think it makes a lot of sense to have tier 3 in this category, and then the same thing is true for all of our DBs. We're running a 3-3-5, so we have 5 of them out there on the field a lot of the time, and I'm probably going to get all of these categories to tier 3 before I go into anything else on these skill trees. I want to try only going motivator. I'm excited to see how that plays out, and I'm also excited that we just signed a 5-star player, but I've been having this playing style affecting corners wanting to transfer out a lot in this game. It's not like we're forcing any more interceptions in some of these matchups either. We still have to play Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas, so the season's pretty much over. We're sitting at number 12 in the SEC, and I'm simming everything else besides the Louisville rivalry matchup. That means I can focus all my attention on trying to build up our recruiting class, even though we only have 700 hours to spend, and these are the types of screens that I really want to see. I also have to point out that Dan Key went for 5 touchdowns against Auburn, so that means we won 45-20, and all of a sudden, if we beat Tennessee, we're back in the running to make the playoffs. Words cannot express how shocked I am at this stat line Brock Vandegrift had, but now I have another very important game that I need to play on the road. I was already in a really good mood because I was able to sign 1 player to start at each one of the positions on our defensive line, but now with a trip to Neyland Stadium and a chance to actually elevate ourselves up into the college football playoffs, I am so pumped up, and as you can see, the presentation just looks fantastic. You know we're going into a tough environment whenever they got the checkerboard crowd out there. I know that we're going to struggle, but maybe not. We've controlled this entire first half. It's really been our defense doing all of the work against Tennessee, and we're set to end this second quarter with a lead over the Volunteers, but their quarterback Nico stepped up and threw it away. With no timeouts left, they felt like they had no choice but to attempt a 63-yarder, and even though the kick meter is really difficult, I do think it's a bit broken on this game. College kickers aren't hitting from there. I mean, a select few can, but that had the range to go from like 67, and I'm gonna fumble it to end this half. That's a bad ending. It set them out to come out in the 3rd quarter and tie things up at 10, but we've also been driving down the field versus them, and I'm trying to keep it on the ground, which is going to take us into the end zone. Man, Kentucky's putting up a good fight here in Neyland, and guess who would be the next team to get down inside the red zone? It would be the Wildcats, but I had absolutely 0 time there, and I'm going to have no time again. So we're much better off just running up and settling for a field goal. I cannot risk fumbling, and that bar is shaking a lot, but I feel like we have enough to drill it down the middle. It wouldn't stop Tennessee from scoring, but they've come out and pressed man-to-man coverage on Barry and Brown, and I don't know what the flag is on this play, but I'm going to be so upset if we don't get the touchdown here. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. This is home cooking at its finest. And now we're in a position where the Volunteers are 100% going to have a chance to get this ball back. The only way they won't is if we pick up this 3rd down, and I don't have the option to audible Barry and Brown's route, but he would so toast them deep right now. They've come out very aggressive, and that was floated on the money. Maybe I'm being a little bit too aggressive, but if they're going to come out with 0 safety help, I feel like it's only right to go up to our 98 speed wide receiver, and that was all it took to seal our huge win. It even convinced Avery Pape to sign with Kentucky, which works out really well for us with these quarterback stats, even though we're also going after this guy Tony Siliga and then this athlete too. I'm starting to think that 3-star athlete quarterbacks might be a bit broken, but we might need one of them because both of these running backs committed to other schools. If they have like 95 speed, they could probably play at that position, and this kid just decommitted somewhere, reopening his recruitment, so we're probably going to go after him and find out how good he is. Before we get more recruiting hours though, we have to beat the Pandas, and then after that, all we have left on our schedule is at Texas and then the Cardinals. We might not be in the running to make the SEC championship, but this current playoff projection has us getting in as a 10 seed, and with another win, I'm sure we'll move even higher. With a commit and a defensive player of the week, all signs are looking pretty good. And how on earth is Kentucky in a game of the week in year number 1? This season's going way better than I ever imagined, but going to Texas is going to be tough. You can tell that they have a ton of presentation stuff in this game. And DKR is going to get rowdy. I might even try to attend this game in real life this year, but only if Kentucky's having a really good season. I don't want to travel all the way there for a blowout. And this entire first half has been a struggle for our offense. Brock just got that ball out, but it's really our defense that keeps us in games, and Barry and Brown making plays like this one. I want to try so bad to bomb the Longhorns with him, but the throws have just been off the marks. And since the Longhorns get the ball to start the third quarter, it's crucial we get points on this drive, but this place is not making that easy, and the halfback was supposed to be on a Texas route. The home field advantage caused the audible to mess up. By the time we even have a chance to get back out there, it is not looking pretty. And this is a game that I never want to think about again. That loss has dropped us to number 16 in the polls, so the playoffs are still a chance, and I thought I was going to play the Governor's Cup, but Louisville's just not good. We're going to sim it because I'm already not happy that Tony Siliga is going to go to USC. They came into the battle late. At least we're going to get this athlete, so we have two options at QB that both have 95 throw power and like 95 speed. But skipping over this game's never happening again because they went into Kroger Field and beat us by 18. Somehow Brock Vandegrift had his worst game of the year while Tyler Shuck threw for 3 touchdowns. And like expected, the 4-star quarterback didn't want to be a Wildcat. The big schools come in at the last second, and that's how we're about to lose the #1 free safety in the country to LSU. But the one I really didn't see coming was this center committing to Auburn over us as well. I'm not happy about how that went, and I almost want to fire one of our coordinators. And the reason for that is if I scroll through both of them, you're going to see that they have pretty much the exact same point spread. I think our defensive coordinator, Andrew Parker, has some better stuff though that allows us to put more points on certain positions. So Mr. Oscar Carter, you are getting the boot here at Kentucky. And with our offensive coordinator out the picture, that made this quarterback actually want to play for us. The same cannot be said for some of these other guys though. I can't believe the corners still want to transfer. And it looks like Jalen Milroe won the Heisman. We've been put in the Music City Bowl against Penn State, which is not good. And all I know is I really want to pick up this head coach from Toledo because he is considered a talent developer. That's what the Wildcats need, so I'm going to send him an offer. And we'll hear back if he wants to join the staff or not next week. That's big news, and I'm stunned looking at this playoff bracket. I wouldn't expect that to happen in real life this year, but I am hoping this does. 28 touchdowns, 6 picks is pretty good for Brock Vandegrift, but we just didn't get many rushing yards, and I thought this guy's name was Chip. Maybe that's just a nickname or something. To my surprise, Barry Brown was actually our 3rd best wide receiver. He underperformed compared to these other two, and I don't think that coach accepted our offer. This is not good, but this Appalachian State former head coach has the same type of spread that I'm looking for with the talent development, so I'm going to get him an offer. And please, James Jeremiah, join the coaching staff. We could have 2 Jameses on this team. I don't even want to play this Music City Bowl against Penn State. I have a good feeling I know what's about to happen against them, even though they're only 1 overall better than us. And no matter what, I'm going to be happy because James settled on coming to Kentucky. Losing by 16 really isn't too terrible, but bowl games don't mean much in college football unless you're in the playoffs now. And to start this file, Oregon was able to get their first national championship ever. It's about time we find out whether or not these 4 players leave our program though. And I was expecting Deion Walker to go ahead and enter the NFL draft. He's a projected first-round pick. I'm not going to try to persuade him, but at least for Hardaway, we saw that he won Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC. I'm going to persuade him, and he decided to stay. That is huge news because even though we are losing some very talented seniors, I think our roster might be a little bit better than it was last season. Going into these final recruiting periods, what I've noticed is we only brought in 9 players, and there's no guarantee that we get any of these 4 stars, but I think we'll be able to land at least 1 or 2 of them. That means we're about to build through the portal, and Cole Pennington wants to transfer to our program. But the main highlight should have been this middle linebacker that's a 4-star. We're on the first place interest for him, and then the #1 player available, Caleb Downs, wants to come to Kentucky. I don't know how this is even possible. This is the right Caleb Downs. This is not a duplicate. It's us or Tennessee. And not only does he want to leave Ohio State to come to us, but this player wants to leave from Alabama to come to us. I don't understand why Kentucky has options like this. This is the most exciting that the transfer portal has ever been on any of my playthroughs. And it looks like both Florida and NC State have jumped into the battle for Caleb Downs, but I think that we're going to just go ahead, schedule him for a visit in this week too. Playing style was at an A+. Maybe that's why he's interested in coming here in the first place. And that's the same interest for this #2 player in the country, so our playing style is helping us get amazing transfers. I'm so nervous to click through some of these commits. I want to see Caleb Downs on the other side, but I don't think it's happening this week. And it says he's reached his top 3 schools, but of course we lost the #2 transfer in the country to Florida. They're literally about to steal Caleb from us too. I have to figure out a plan quick, and the visit did not help. Maybe I need to switch this up. Without knowing all 3 of his interest, we're just gonna hard sell. I hope that he wants playing time. But before we continue this Kentucky rebuild, I've partnered with Geology to bring you this sponsored video. Like I've said before, they reached out to me about half a year ago, and at the time I was really struggling with acne, so I needed to get a skincare routine, but I didn't know where to start. I had to test Geology anyway before I was willing to promote it, so I went over to their website, filled out a questionnaire to get a personalized skincare routine, and the one they assigned to me was Regimen 7. I was excited to see if it helped my acne because Geology is a 35-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company, and for the past 6 months in the morning, I've been using the everyday face wash. I'll follow it with Tone Control Morning Cream, which is an SPF, and then at night before bed, I clean my face all over again with the everyday face wash, plus I rub some night cream all over my face too. The final step was my biggest insecurity, the dark circles that are under my eyes sometimes, and this eye cream has really helped with that. Ever since I started using Geology, I've been pretty happy with how my skin looks, and if you scan the QR code, head to the first link in the description or use promo code Bordeaux100. You'll get 100% off your order for your first personalized skincare trial set and then 50% off add-ons as well. That's over $49 in products for just the cost of shipping, and committing to better skin doesn't have to be difficult, but now it's time to resume this Kentucky rebuild. And after advancing, you'll see that we signed the 4-star transfer linebacker with Caleb Downs coming in too. There is no way that we just landed him. I don't even care about the rest of these bums. We just got an insane player. And the trade-off with that is now we have a strong safety that probably wants to transfer. It doesn't even bother me that Florida landed this 4-star strong safety. We got the one that I really wanted. And I decided to put some of these guys on my board very late because if they don't have any school that they sign with, the team that's in first place is what they'll choose. I figured that'd be a nice way to round out our recruiting class, and we have a lot of options at quarterback. I think this went exactly how we needed it to. I just started with a level 1 head coach and signed the number 13 class here at Kentucky, and that's with no coach points in this recruiter tab. I think this motivator one's going to be the one to go with once we get to the off-season results. I'm not even going to touch tier 4. We have all of these at tier 3, which is what I wanted, but we could come back and revisit it if we want players to start off hot and close games in the 4th quarter. And now that we have that out of the way, I think I'm going to unlock this tactician tree because this will affect the boost that our players get going into the game. I don't have much to spend, but I do want our offensive line to always be solid. And can you believe that we just brought in a 95 overall out of the transfer portal? If I had to guess, he's probably the best defensive player in this game, and these stats are just nuts. It makes no sense for Caleb Downs to want to be at Kentucky, but our playstyle was an A+ match, and that made him choose us. Some of these abilities are nasty too, like Aftershock, where big hits produce increased wear and tear, and when it comes to what to do with some of these freshmen, it looks like a lot of them are around a 74, 75 overall. But what I wasn't expecting was both of these 3 stars to end up being this high, and we're going to move both of them to QB. I mean, it is a no-brainer decision, and if we do start Avery Pape, he can clearly make tackles after he throws interceptions because he wouldn't be bad on the defensive side of the ball either. The last athlete I have to move around is Reggie. He's going to be a running back or a tight end. I think I still have to stick with elusive back, and the only reason for that is we also signed someone in Nolan Trimble, so he has that position covered. I really don't like the thought that we're probably starting a true freshman at running back too, but that's just how it worked out, and we've leveled up even more. I feel like something's bugged with that because I just gained 6 more levels even though I put points into things like a week or 2 ago. And I'm on normal progression. I'm not going to complain though because now we have a ton of stuff unlocked in Tactician, so when I overlap our coordinators with this coaching web, you'll see that we're now covering all 3 facets. I never checked out what offensive coordinator James Jeremiah had either, but it looks like we're going to have an easier time recruiting on offense, and from a talent developing standpoint, we're also going to have that with running backs and our offensive line. I did accidentally advance past training results, but that screen doesn't tell you how much a player's overall went up by anyway, which I really don't like. I'm not sure why they did it that way. I am curious, how much did Brock Vandegrift go up by? Only an 82? We might start this freshman. I don't even know who Cutter Boley is, and I'm a Kentucky fan. He looks like someone that shouldn't be out there on the field. Maybe he's a kicker or something, but I'm about to learn all about him. 91 throw power. This could be somebody that we need to develop. The Justin Bieber hairstyle needs to go, but we have our new quarterback over Brock Vandegrift. And because Caleb Downs transferred in, this team's projected to be the 20th best in the country. So all we have to do is not completely stink during conference play, even though it's supposed to be tough. And just looking through our schedule, we might have lucked out by only having to face off against 6 ranked teams. It also helps that we're starting as an 88 overall, because I was pretty confident we could sim the week, and our freshman quarterback's already won SEC Offensive Player of the Week. I figured we won by a ton if he did, but it was 38-33. That's not a good sign for our defense, but I do want to look at these stats. Maybe he rushed for some stuff as well, and yeah, 2 touchdowns on the ground. That puts us in a good position going into the Tennessee matchup. And from a recruiting standpoint, when you look at our team needs, pretty much every single offensive one's highlighted, and then on the defensive side of the ball, the same thing's true. We have 26 players we have to replace with this class, which means it's dumb of me to be targeting some of these top-rated prospects because I'm going to be competing with a lot of other schools that are better than us, but I still want to do it because I need these 4 stars. The main one that I really want to point out is James David. I knew it was possible from the Not the Expert video, but this guy has 100 speed as a wide receiver, and that means we have to figure out some of his interest quick because I can't lose out on this. We'll have more updates on that after we play Tennessee, and we already beat them last year, but this time it's at Kroger Field, which means we have an even better chance of doing it again. Well, if I had to pick any of my favorite games to play in, it would definitely be the ones that have crowd patterns. They look incredible. And let's just ignore what the Wildcats all-time record is versus Tennessee. What's important is how we do now. I feel like I'm using myself at quarterback. I love the number 8, but that was a terrible throw. It was pretty inaccurate. So we had to get a stop to get the ball back down here on the 8-yard line, and there's just no time at all. Obviously, I'm not very happy with how this one's opened up. We'd also miss a field goal here in the first quarter, but because it's been such a defensive game, we're still in a fine position, and on this 3rd and long, they're not going anywhere. The next time somebody got down in the red zone, though, it was Tennessee, and we're about to go down 12-0 unless we are able to push them back. That might have been the best thing that could have happened to us there. I'm hoping that Nico just throws it to us, but he's going to step up and take it in. And I've worked so hard to drive us down the field. We need to get our first points before halftime, but it didn't come there. And on 2nd and goal, that was a fantastic route, but they knocked it down, so we have to go 5 wide on them. I need to throw a slant in 3 seconds and hope that they don't get the pick, but they did. Of course, I was trying to get the touchdown instead of a field goal, but that's my fault for not making a read there. That means we're starting the 3rd quarter still down 12-0, and surely this corner route's going to be open. Ever since bumping it up to Heisman, I have dealt with drop after drop, and this team's better than the one that we had last year, but it's taken us almost the entire game to score. Even then, they're saying we're not in the end zone, but I have to make sure we at least get on the board against them. Even if our overall's this high with a freshman quarterback, we might be in for a rude awakening. And what is even happening? That was supposed to be a halfback toss. This is ridiculous. Tennessee might go ahead and win the national championship this year. I have to go with the jet touch pass. Please just get on the board against them. And Caleb Downs is probably regretting transferring here at this moment. At least he doesn't want to leave, though. Only this strong safety that's a 76. And we have a great chance to bounce back against Eastern Michigan. I'd also like to say that our recruiting seems to be going pretty well. Now, there are players like James David with the 100 speed that I don't think we're going to be able to land, but that's because I didn't put any points into the recruiting tree, so schools that are still beating us out, I might just take off our board now, like this guy with Penn State. I'm actually not even happy that we signed this free safety because the same week James David locked us out. And I don't know why Kentucky scheduled Baylor for a non-conference game. Normally we play 3 cupcakes, but instead now we have to play the number 9 ranked team, which might not go well even though we just took down Eastern Michigan by 28. I haven't played at Baylor yet, so I wanted to hop into this one too. It looks like it's a night game. It's a top 25 matchup, and their run out's pretty cool. They got all that going on at the middle of the field. What's not cool though is with 1:16 left in this first half, they're up by 11 points, and I'm just going to throw it up to Barry and Brown, but it's out of bounds. I know that we have that mismatch if they're running man-to-man coverage. It's just whether or not our freshman quarterback has enough time to make the throw, and that is what we needed out of him. That is what I wanted to see even on Heisman. We have 1 year left to Barry and Brown, but he is that good. And this schedule is just brutal. Baylor's been a really tough matchup for us. We can't stop their offense. They're about to score even more points before the half as they do there, and it almost feels like there's no point in even trying to keep up with them. I can't. They're up by 18 in the 3rd quarter. If we can pull off this comeback though, that would be amazing. And there's our freshman running back taking it in. If we could get a stop on this 3rd and 5 here in the 4th quarter, it's a 2-possession game, but they would force a 4th and 6, which means we have to pick it up, and that is what we did. I know that this isn't ideal, but as long as we're still in this, that's all I was hoping for. And are you serious right now? We're on a 4th and 33. I don't even know if I'm gonna have enough time to get off a throw in this situation. No, I didn't. There just wasn't a chance of us coming back after we fell behind the way we did. But we're losing to really tough opponents, so they can't drop us out of the top 25. Believe it or not though, that's not very appealing to this 5-star that Wisconsin's about to take from us. They cannot stop and stay away from Kentucky. I'm starting to realize too that without many points in the recruiting skill tree, it's taken us a long time to find some of these prospects' main interests. And the soonest game a player can visit for is all the way in week 9, which is far from ideal, but I think we just have to wait it out. I mean, we're halfway there. Right now it's week 5, so it'll come quickly, and we had to sign 3 cornerbacks, which makes this a big addition. I didn't really want to pursue him because whenever I scouted him, he busted, but his stats aren't the worst. But when I scouted Lane out of Louisville, he was a gem, so I'm glad that we stole him from the Cardinals. Even if we did lose another 5-star to Wisconsin, it was actually a pretty productive week for the Wildcats because we signed 3 4-stars, and a win over South Carolina means we're going into this Georgia game ranked 16th in the country. We did just enough to beat the Gamecocks, including our freshman quarterback going for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I have a feeling he's going to really struggle on the road. Now, since we've already lost like 7 or 8 recruiting battles, there's only 12 guys that I have left on our board, but that gives us a great opportunity to go look for what else is out there. And what I like to do about it the midway point in the season is search by stage, and there's not really many guys we can go after besides maybe this 5-star. However, when you sort by 4-star, you're going to look over to this right panel and you're going to see schools that might not be offering guys, and those are the ones that you want to go after, because there's a really good shot that players like this either just decommitted from somewhere or they aren't being pursued by that many schools yet. Once you put the player on your board though, it's just like all those colleges decide that they need that player at that instant. So it's still going to be a struggle to land most of them, and look at this stadium, we're in some trouble. I want to have some faith in my Wildcats, but I haven't been able to audible throughout this entire game, and please tell me we put that pass on the money. Using a freshman quarterback this season has not been a very enjoyable experience, especially being on the road. I don't want Caleb Downs to leave for the NFL after this year. I think he will, and that's another score. I would say that maybe I wasn't ready to go up to Heisman yet, but I feel like I've kept up really well with some of the teams. Like, that's a great throw. Berrien Brown is the only reason that we're even in this one, and that was pretty much the only offensive success that I've had throughout this entire game. What I did figure out along the way though was I have to make sure that I'm stepping up in the pocket, because if I step back like 10 yards, everything collapses a lot quicker for us, and that makes perfect sense, but I haven't had to do it in a football game before. I cannot believe how open Berrien Brown just got, and then he still wasn't able to come down with it. I was going to throw that no matter what, because I was hoping he wouldn't get stuck behind those 2 defenders, and we needed points fast. We just put up 7. It didn't stop 5-star tackle Wayne Rochelle from committing to Kentucky though, and we're also starting to build up our receiving core, landing both Garrison Hagg and Joel Willett. The reason we need them so bad is our best 4 wide receivers are seniors, and they're all solid, so we're just going to have to hope that some of these guys improve. I mean, they do have 98 speed, but we've experienced a lot of drops, so that's not the only stat that matters for receivers, and we're struggling in the SEC. I think what I'm going to do is just sim to the end of the year, because every single game I've hopped into we've lost, and then all of the ones that I've simmed we've won. So let's see what happens at home against Texas, who's a higher overall than us. Well, it was certainly closer than I thought it would be. We only lost by a point, and I wonder if Arch Manning was the one to do this to us. Sometimes he transfers out, but it looks like he stayed at Texas on this file. I don't want to say that I wrote this season off from the start either, but I kind of knew that we still had a lot more to build upon, and that's what we've done so far, signing 11 recruits. And I don't understand what it is about Wisconsin on this file, but they just keep taking everybody from us. Everything went downhill because we're sitting at 3-5, but it could have gotten worse if we also dropped to Ole Miss, and thankfully we didn't. All that's left on our schedule is Vanderbilt, Florida, and Louisville, where we just have to win 2 of those 3 to make it to a bowl game, and I think we can make that happen, but I don't appreciate this 5-star choosing Notre Dame over us. Don't get me wrong, it was a logical choice, but was it the right one? That's what we're gonna find out. I mean, the Irish literally sign whoever they want while we're down here with Kentucky at 14, which is good for the Wildcats, but I need to raise that even higher, and we've signed Chip Bjornsson. If you all have watched the channel for a bit, you'd know that I can't pronounce anything, and then EA decided to add some of the oddest recruiting names ever. Like, I have never heard of some of these, but for your entertainment in this rebuild, I'll try to say them, and Vanderbilt beat us by 1. There's actually no shot. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing right now. How has Kentucky lost to them? Our freshman quarterback didn't even play bad, but something's not right, and it's a good thing that my job's still safe. It might not be after we lose to Florida too, and if they took us down in game and then also stole this recruit from us that's 6'5", I'm gonna be salty. Look at that though, we lose to Vanderbilt, we beat Florida, nothing makes sense. We're sitting at 5-6, and that means there's 1 game left, where if we win this rivalry, we're still gonna be bowl eligible. The Governor's Cup is about to be on display, and I think we've gotten our first snow game. I'm actually so excited to play in the snow. If this isn't snow, I will be upset, but look at that. It actually looks pretty good besides in the middle of the field. That's what I don't like. I've seen people complain about it, and I just think that little missing part in the middle is funky, but this should be a good one. I'm so excited for it. And after going 3 and out, they were actually the first team to get points in this matchup, but that pass set us up for 7 of our own, and on a 3rd down, I'm going to step up in the pocket to take the sack. I'm really confident with field goals now. I don't know why, but I feel like I can drill most of them, and I feel like I'm starting to adapt a little bit better to all of the player movement, but they just did a halfback pass and we got the interception with Maxwell Hairston. Stuff like that's how we've continued to maintain a lead throughout this entire first half. That was such a crazy play, but they went for it, and on 2nd and 3, I feel like they're not going to have anybody out on our running back, so I had to go over to him to get the first. I really wanted to chew a lot of clock before halftime, and I feel like we've done a good job of doing that, but I am a little bit worried about leaving them with 50 seconds left, and of course they scored, but we're going to respond back with a touchdown of our own. I wish I could say that we are just running away with this one, but that hasn't been the case. And with a few minutes left, they're going for it on a 4th and 5 that we're getting another interception on. This defense has been lights out, and I took it out of the end zone, which almost worked. I just think we're in a position where if we get a couple more things to go our way, this one's going to be completely over. And at the end of the day, we won the Governor's Cup. That's our 22nd series win over the Cardinals, and I'm going to miss all of our senior wide receivers. Just looking back on our schedule too, if we could have taken down Baylor, maybe gotten by Texas and finished it out versus Vanderbilt, this could have been a 9-3 team. So I'm not taking a 12th place finish in the SEC to heart, and I'm not going to punish either of these coordinators for it because I feel like both of them have been solid. It's not perfect yet, but all three of us work pretty well together, and we just needed our freshman quarterback to get through this first season of experience because he turned the ball over a ton. We expected that though, and we also needed Chuck Jack to get some experience under his belt too. He was a freshman running back, but it does stink that we had to see the years of development one whenever we had all these good wide receivers, 2,000-yard ones, which is why it's so crucial that we do a good job replacing them. I'm pretty happy with the fact that only one player still wants to transfer, and look at that. I told you all Tennessee was going to have a good year. Nico won the Heisman, while we made the Pop-Tarts Bowl versus Boston College. I don't see Tennessee up here near the top of the rankings though, so they must have missed the playoffs. They went 8-4. An early national signing day has happened, so we've made sure to bring in, I think, 13 or 14 different players. I feel like that's pretty solid. We still have the transfer portal window too. Right now, we're the 16th best class, and because it's Boston College instead of Penn State, I think this year I am going to hop into the bowl game. It just feels like we have a better chance at winning this one. Look at our players coming out. Those jerseys do look very clean. And with a few minutes left in the second quarter, we do have a 3-point lead over the Eagles. We're also driving down the field with Cutter Bowley cutting apart this defense, and he's going to find Berrien Brown for 7. I think I've figured out what I needed to do offensively. It was always just going 5 wide and hitting him. So that's what I'm going to continue to do to get us down the field, and they did not play that the way I thought they would. I want to try to thread it to that seam up the middle if we're able to get it there quick enough, and we could. But Boston College isn't going away. With a few minutes left, they're only down by 7. So that makes getting a stop here so important, and I should have known that they were trying to run the ball. I tripped him up for a split second, and this is actually a setup for disaster the way we are coming out and blitzing them there. They were always going to complete that pass, and what are we doing? Come on, can somebody just bring this guy down? I had to go ahead and call a timeout, but they scored on the next play, leaving us with 2 minutes left on the clock, and I don't know why that ball looked like that. What on earth are we doing? Why did our freshman underthrow that so badly? I'm genuinely confused right now. I could have sworn that we had a touchdown right there. There's no way we've blown this game. All right, 3rd and 4. What are they doing? A handoff up the middle. We can stop them. And they kicked a field goal, but this time around, I'm still looking to that left side of the field. I'm going to see how the safety help plays over the top, and I don't think they can get back to Berrien Brown. He is literally that quick, even on the hardest difficulty. It really didn't matter if they scored in 30 seconds, though. I should have played the defense. I simmed it. I thought we had a better chance, but I will go back over there, and this time they stuck with it. What a chaotic game. They are still pressing over on that side, and we do have our tight end open, or I guess Macklin. Normally, it is the tight end that's in that spot, and this coverage is locking down, but I don't think they were expecting us to step up with the freshman. I need this to be a masterclass in this bowl game, but I feel like we have to make this throw on the run. It's red, and it does not matter at all. We got out of bounds, and now we can go back to our bread and butter, what I love to run down here on the goal line, the jet touch pass, which is going to go down at the 1. I had to call our final timeout there, and they want me to kick the field goal, but I have to go for this down in the red zone. We're going to have to throw it away or scramble, just get it out in time. I'm looking for if it's man-to-man or zone coverage. This is a zone, but I don't think we're going to have what I wanted, and we're definitely taking our field goal to go to overtime. It's not a fast meter. If I mess this one up, it would be really bad, and I don't know why I have to struggle so much once I get down into the red zone, but that was a fade route. That was supposed to be a streak. Oh my gosh. No. I am so mad at myself. I put him on a streak, the same audible that normally makes it a streak. I guess it was a fade because we were down in the end zone, but we just lost a game off of that. You've got to be kidding me. I really thought that was a streak route right there. I'm never beating the menu merchant allegations. He got such a clean release, but then he stuttered for no reason and then went to the outside. It made this entire performance from Berrien Brown pointless. And let's not forget that our defense that's made up of players like Caleb Downs gave up so many touchdowns at the end, even when I simmed. This game's going to be difficult for a while, but I am shocked to see Texas Tech win the national championship. And we've landed the guy that I would look like if I grew out my beard. When it comes to players leaving, we do have this sophomore strong safety transferring out. I'm going to try to convince him to stay, and he did. But I think we all know Caleb Downs has gone to the NFL. I think it'd be funny if he decided to stay back. I didn't try it last year, but I am going to try it this year with a first-round prospect, and it didn't work. It never hurts to shoot your shot, and we're putting a lot of other guys onto the NFL as well. I'm very happy with the team that we just had. But I think losing all this talent means we're we're going to take a step back next season from going 6 and 7, unless we go crazy in the transfer portal, and I am seeing that the number 4 player, a left tackle, is interested in coming to Kentucky. Well, I was given over 1,200 hours to spend in this period, so I did the best that I could, adding 18 different prospects for us to go after, and I still have 55 hours left, which is just crazy for me to think about. I don't know how Kentucky already has this much. We did lose one player to USC, but at the same time, I unlocked Master Motivator, and I have 30 coach points, so I have to see what's in here. Go ahead and spend it. It looks like all these tiers cost 8 actually, and how do I make sure I fully unlock it? Maybe it's a bug unless I have to max out everything that's on here already. And never mind, I was supposed to hold down X from out here to upgrade it, but now I don't have the coach points to do that. That was not a smart moment from me, but I'm not focusing in on signing anybody major, so I didn't even realize that through 2 weeks I'd brought in the 2 top transfer options that were on our board. And from here, I really don't need any more of these guys. If anything, the 3 stars would just take up more spots than help, because they're probably going to come in at like a 65 overall. And because I got face scanned when I went to EA, I'm tripping out every single time I see a face that looks similar to mine. If they drop it in something, they wouldn't even tell me. They just expect me to somehow find it. We did sign 28 targets, which I think is the biggest class I've ever had on College Football 25. And it might be the best one I've ever had too. I'm not sure what my first one or one of the ones at Nebraska I had was, but number 8 is very good. I'm also seeing less and less seniors near the top of these positions, which means we have 2 years of these guys developing, and then they should be up near a 90 overall. I'm not going to skip it this time, so we can look through it, but there's just no indication on how much these guys jumped. From our quarterback perspective, I think we're still going to roll with Cutter, but at halfback, we have a tough decision to make. I mean, players are progressing like 8-10 overalls a season, and we have a new starter in Reggie. That's why I went down the path that I did over here, because I feel like all of these are so good. Motivator is the move, and you just need your coordinators to balance out the other stuff. That's how we're going into this season ranked, and what's more important is our team overall is up to 90, but there's still plenty of room for improvement, and we're projected to finish like 13th in our conference. From a recruiting standpoint now, I'm just going to go after some really good players, but we just need our guys to develop that we already have, and we only have 10 seniors, so it's not like we're looking to replace a bunch of people either. Somehow, even though we went 6 and 7, our team prestige went up to 4 stars, so we're going to get more recruiting hours, and I've just decided that I'm not going to try. I'm going to get the 5 stars or nothing. I want to say this is a gap year before season 4 where we'd be real contenders, but we could start 4-0, and then you never know if we go on a run from there, which means I'm really hoping that we can lean on the kid from Kentucky. He's 6'5", and just from a rating standpoint, they have gone up. I want to also look at his abilities and take a closer look, because I didn't realize how many of these boosted his accuracy whenever I stayed in the pocket. I'm feeling pretty confident knowing that we're a 90 overall, especially since none of these guys are higher than an 88, so they're not going to leave for the NFL draft early. I think we'd be really good with one more year of development, but Akron just hung up 45 points against us, and what is this? There's actually no way their quarterback went for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, while ours turned it over. And we better not lose to Georgia Tech as well. Thankfully, I think we bounced back because James Amerson had an insane game, and he's the future of this wide receiving core. Remember, I recruited him just a season ago, and he's the future of this wide receiving core. I remember recruiting him, but I didn't realize that he was only 5'7". That is not what you want to see out of a wide receiver, but he's from Lexington, Kentucky. He's playing for his hometown team, and he also has winning time as an ability, and some of these physical ones are going to go up too. I feel like I already have to make him number 1 on the depth chart after that last performance, and it'd be silly if we didn't win that one. We had to score 59 to do it though. How did they get 42 against our defense? It might be time to adjust some things if we're giving up 500 passing yards. I mean, Cutter Boley responded back with a good stat line of his own, but I'm not liking this 3-4 anymore. For some reason, I thought we were in a 3-3-5 already. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. That was my preference on the NCAA football game, and we have a lead on some of these 5 stars, but I'm pretty sure we did lose one of them to Alabama. And now that we've unlocked most of the interest for all of them, it's time that we go all in, focus up, and see how many of them we can really get. If I had to guess, I think we'll sign 3 5-stars in this class. That's what I'm hoping for, and we're also going to have a visit week against Texas A&M, though they're ranked number 2, so maybe I should switch that to South Carolina. It's not as rewarding, but we've already dropped a game to Akron, and the signings are starting to come, but this is a 4-star. As exciting as it is to see 2 of them, I want to get the 5 stars, and switching our defensive formation causes 6 players to want to transfer. I think it's worth it though, because we held South Alabama to 0 points, so the trade-off of running the 3-3-5 is we might lose some players, but our defense gets a lot better than it's been. I might still change it though if it doesn't work this week against South Carolina, and I wish I would have put Joel on a visit because Michigan's so close to landing him, and by the time he'd get in on a week 7 visit, it's going to be a bit too late. Well, I don't know what we did to jump Michigan, but Joel is committed to our school, and we also landed another 5-star, which means means nobody really cares about Micah, who also committed. And that was quite the week for this class, but we did lose a 5-star to Notre Dame at the same time, and then this kid to LSU. I still think we're going to get more than half of these guys, though. A lot of them are coming on a visit for that Texas A&M game. And if I could pull off signing some more 5-stars with this team, the people on Reddit are going to lose their mind. All I'm going to say is the recruiting is harder on this game than it is on NCAA Football 14. But when you know what you're doing and you're a bigger school, it is possible to put together a top 15-ish class. You're just not going to see number 1s and 2s all the time like you would on the old game. I was curious about our stats versus South Carolina. It looks like we gave up a lot of touchdowns. I mean, we only won this one by 2. So I'm not sure whether or not we can trust our defense, but Alabama's 1-3, which means I'm kind of expecting to win during sim. Maybe we did if we landed another 5-star. I'm going to definitely take that and another, but I would have never expected a third too. We did lose one of them to Oregon though, and these guys still want to transfer, but we're 4-1. I see it up there under the prestige. So something's working. Ever since I switched up that defense, we've been fine, but we're about to go on a tough 3-game stretch. Even though we lost to Akron, I feel like we have a good shot here, and it's another game of the week, so we have to make sure we represent ourselves well. This is an occasion that I wish was a night game, but it looks like it's being played in the afternoon, and I'm hoping that our new starting running back this year can carry us to victory. Not looking great though, because with a few seconds left in this first half, we might make this field goal, but we're still down by 7, and I wish we were playing a little bit better. Luckily for us, we do have the ball with a chance to pick up this 3rd and 8, and then we could score a touchdown on the drive. But that involves finishing, something that I'm not great at, and they're about to intercept that, aren't they? Why would I even throw it in that direction? I'm getting lurked by the CPU. I mean, they're not generating enough pressure to take us down at least. But this has been a tough game, even at home, and they're probably going to play that too. I have noticed quite a few inaccurate throws. That's probably pretty realistic to college football, though. We're drilling another field goal. And this is where it's so important that we come out and get a defensive stop. We have the defense for it, but we still have to hold them, and we're doing that right here. If he would just go down. I'm feeling pretty good about this 3rd and 10, and they're not going to pick it up. But there was a flag on the play, and it was on the Aggies. That's perfect. I accepted the penalty and backed them up 20 yards. There's no guarantee they'd hit a field goal, but instead I just gave up a touchdown, and they're doing my favorite celebration. I might actually be the dumbest person. I'm not sure there's going to be any coming back from that. They're going to hold on to the football, and if we don't stop them on this 3rd and 8, this game's pretty much over. We have to make sure our zones stick on all these guys, and they did. All right, a minute 52 on the clock, and a dream. I'm going to be able to step up with Boley if they give us space like that, and I'm also not afraid to send it deep if I like the mismatch that we have over on this left side of the field, but there wasn't enough time to get it out. Number 5, Brown Stevens, has 98 speed, so we always have to keep that in mind. He can toast whatever cornerback's on him 99% of the time, and he did a fantastic job of doing that there. They're also leaving him open underneath, so we're just going to take another first down. Now, the real big issue is even if we do get into the end zone, we're going to have to get a 2-point conversion too, and I don't have a play design for what I want to go with yet. I'm also getting stuck on the defensive line, so that cut up in that situation was the worst thing that I could have done there, and thankfully the pass to our halfback worked. I'm honestly shaking, and this is just a regular season game a few years in, but the playing the key moment simmed the 2-point conversion, so now we're here in overtime tied up at 27, and I didn't even get my opportunity to go for the 2-point conversion myself. If we do get in here though, I'm doing it, and you have to be careful about these key moments sometimes, because every so often they'll sim stuff you don't want them to. Okay, it is my bread and butter. It is these jet touch passes. I feel like it might be able to work here, and I had to flip the play because I didn't like how things were lined up. Hopefully our 98 speed wide receiver has what it takes to get around this edge, and that was just not it. They're celebrating on our field here at home, and that one hurts way worse than the loss to Akron. I don't know why Ben Steinberg even decided to commit to our school. He did not need to do that. We're going to get one more 5-star. But we have started to fall back down the polls, and Wisconsin's even ranked above us. Wonderful. Just looking at these conference standings, we need to beat Oklahoma in this next matchup. And before I go into this game, I am going to change up my playbook. I've heard good things about the Arizona one. I want to pass out of it, but it might be hard to do that here at Kroger Field. We have a night game, and it's also raining hard. If I had any options, I'm going to just put our fastest player on a streak to open it up and see if we're faster than their cornerback, but somehow something just got tipped at the line, causing everything to go wrong, and we had to throw that one over his shoulder right there. I never like these 3rd down situations. There's a lot of pressure in them. We had nobody block on the left side, and I did not want to start this game attempting a 51-yard field goal. It's moving so fast I can't even process it here at 2 a.m., which means it's going well to the right. Luckily, our defense should be able to hold them to 3. I was trying to pump up the crowd, and we're going to knock them out of bounds, but they'd get another field goal, and I might just test out a new playbook every game. I mean, this one's not doing us any favors. Our offense has somehow been worse than it normally is, which is very hard for us to do. And guess who found some jet touch passes? I need something to go our way. It's not looking very good at the moment. I'm hoping that that curl route is able to get open versus that coverage. And now we just pound the rock down their throats. Halfback power is amazing. And I really like how the blocking looked on that, so we're going to go back to it after we got to stop, giving us a chance. What's so interesting is they have come out pressing on 3rd and 5. I feel like we have the speed to just toast them over top to our 5'7" receiver, but I might regret that now. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking. He is open over there on the sidelines, and that was an insane swat. I've never seen anything like it, but we are not going to cover 41. He's gone to the crib. Somehow after that moment, it just continued to get worse, and I'm ready for season number 4, assuming these players don't leave us. Even though we're a 90 overall, and 2 of our 3 losses have been my fault, I'm fully expecting us to lose at least 1 or 2 more of these, and it is out of my control. We're probably going to stop at around like week 13, just check in, see how the team's doing, and maybe take over from that point. Well, it looks like we beat Missouri, but our old SEC cross-division rivals Mississippi State took us down. We even beat LSU, leaving us with the Governor's Cup and a chance to still be in the playoff hunt, but they're 3-8 and they're only an 82 overall, so I'm just going to trust Sim. It might have worked if we've unlocked Architect, and it did. We are somehow sitting up here at number 13, 8-4 going into the playoffs. This would be the most undeserved playoff bid if we got it, but there's a chance we did, and just looking at some of these other signings, we didn't bring in more than 1 person throughout the rest of the sim. I mean, after I stepped in, we got these 2 4-stars, but the 5 stars decided on bigger schools, and that's on me for getting impatient, but we're not projected to make the playoffs. I don't know what all needs to happen for that to be the case, but it doesn't seem like anybody in a conference championship game's in the hunt, and I'm hoping after I skip this screen, something pops up that we made it. I saw we were ranked number 12, but it says we have a bye. Do not tell me we were the one team that didn't get in here. I think we were, and you've got to be kidding me. I see exactly what happened. We would have had the 12 seed, but Tulsa took it because they were an automatic bid with their conference championship win, and that means that Cutter Boley is not going to get any playoff experience. I did predict Reggie's stats correctly though. This is the best that we've ever run the ball, and receiving wise, we just need James Amerson to continue to improve because we're about to lose these 2 seniors. We've made it to the Music City Bowl against Ohio State, and I'm ready for some of these 5-star freshmen to come on campus. What happens in that doesn't matter much to me. Our current class is ranked number 13, even though I've only gone after 12 players, and that's because we signed 6 4-stars and 6 5-stars. But before we get to see all of them, we have to sim this one game against Ohio State. They are a lower overall team than us, and they went 6-6, but I see we finished 8-5. So that means that we lost to them, and it was only by 3 points. That was one that was actually winnable. I'm not going to complain though, because we finished pretty highly in the SEC, and next year things should be even better. Or at least I thought. I advanced the week, and all of a sudden we have 4 players that are scared of our program because of pro potential. My guess is because our roster was 88 overalls and lower, nobody's entering the NFL draft. But that's out of my control, and Oklahoma was so close to winning it all. I know that we're on the level with some of those teams, and this is a lot of players trying to transfer. The only one I care about is Nichols. He is still wanting to leave because of playing style, and he wants to stay every single time. I don't understand that, but it was the same for these 3 too. They ended up not leaving Kentucky. And from a graduation standpoint, we didn't lose much at all. That's what took a hit to our pro potential though, because nobody from our team was drafted into the NFL. And just out of curiosity, I have to look at the top transfers. We'll see if we can get any of them in, but we don't need them. Well, we signed at least one of them, so I can't complain about that, and there's another. But the center's still undecided, and Wisconsin just won't go away. I can't deal with this school anymore. They just make me upset. This center's a sophomore as well, so it'd be nice to have him. And after hard selling him and soft selling him in the same week, I bet we land him. What did I say? We took this guy out of Minnesota, got him to come to Kentucky instead of Wisconsin, and they were right behind us in the running. I don't know why they go after all the players that we do, but this class is looking absolutely filthy. With only 15 players in it, which is like half of what all these other schools have, it finished at number 5 in the country. And at this point in the rebuild, we are quality over quantity. Now it's time to get through some position changes. You always have to do this to find athletes because for whatever reason, you can't sort by them right now. And I got this 75 that'd be a good halfback or quarterback, but we need a tight end more than anything else. I think we're ready to finally see some of these training results. I'm excited for them. This is my favorite part every year, and it looks like we have a ton of 90s and also 89s, 88s. This is going to be a good season. Cutter Boley's an 88. He's going to do well for us, but at the running back side of things, we have 3-4 great options. And when I tell you all that this offensive line is probably one of the best that I've ever seen, I'm I'm not kidding. This is absolutely nuts. On top of that, we have 50 coach points that I'm going to take into tactician and just spend on boosting up all of our player stats. I think I'm going to fill up all of these if I can, and all of them are 4 out of 4 besides the special teams one and of course running backs. My coach skill tree is starting to look a little bit funky, but we still make up for it with recruiting with our coordinators. And getting James Jeremiah might be what really changed this rebuild. He makes it so we can put a lot of points on pretty much everybody now, setting us up to hopefully get our first playoff appearance. We're projected to finish 12th to start this season, and we're a 94 overall. I've never seen an overall this high once I'm a couple years into Dynasty. That is actually the craziest thing I've ever seen. As I scroll through this and you look on the right panel, you're going to see some 90s, but mostly like some 84s and stuff, which means not only should this team be able to run the entire SEC, but also make a deep playoff run. And then I was scrolling through our schedule and I saw that we play Pitt, who is ranked number 2 in the country. I've gotten so unlucky with the teams Kentucky scheduled, but I think I'm going to turn on auto recruiting for the first time. And that's because I've built a foundation at pretty much every position. The computer will still do decent, but we just need these guys to develop and us have a lucky year. So after adding all the good talent to our board, the computer should handle it from there. I'm also pretty curious to see how the auto recruiting works in this game. It's the first time I'm experiencing it, and what a start to the season this is about to be versus Pitt. I'm excited for this matchup, and their overall is only an 85. I think I have to count how many game of the weeks that we're able to get, and I'm gonna mess around in the spread playbook. I think it could be fun. It is a neutral site game for a kickoff one. That's interesting. I'm sure we have this coming up in real life, and Pitt just ended up to be good on this file, but I don't think they're on the level of a 94 overall Kentucky team, and there are so many reads on this play. I am bound to mess it up. I should just let the running back take it and see what we're able to do on the ground. What a start. We'd eventually get all the way down the field, and they went with man-to-man coverage, so Cutter had an easy throw over to Amerson, who's our best wide receiver, and I'm so glad he got that open. Pitt would score the next 14 points though, which is something that I was not expecting. That spin move was so filthy, and even though I've had a couple of 3-and-outs, I'm really liking the spread playbook. But what was that? I don't know if I'm just unlucky or what, but we should have picked that up as a first, and I'm determined to make sure that we have a lead before halftime against Pitt. The halfback screen took a while to get out, but we needed our blockers, and eventually we've got to be bound to punching this in, even though they have a great D-line. They've made it so hard once you get inside the 10-yard line, but we finally got what we were looking for, and on a third down we got a sack. This has been a pretty interesting game so far. I had 2 routes to the same side of the field though. I'm not a fan of that. I can't believe Cutter got out of there, and if this team could actually win it all, it would feel a lot more deserved because the other ones have been on All-American. That's like a fraudulent championship, even though there's really not that much of a difference between the two. And from an offensive perspective, we have had an amazing game, but that was an out of reach throw. They get the pick, and they better not have a return here as well. I better be able to chase them down with Boley. Come on, somebody please catch this defensive back. And we're actually collapsing with a couple of minutes left in this game. I just don't get why it would have been off target, but they're coming out pressing. It makes it so hard for me to run the ball. I feel like if we have a clean pocket, we should be able to beat them deep with our 5'7" wide receiver. And these are the decisions that are going to lose me football games. Why didn't I just keep things on the ground? I really want to take 89 up the seam here, but I feel like somebody's going to jump it. It floated. I can't throw a bullet pass without holding it down for longer. I've ruined this game. I'm so bad. I was so scared of getting a red passing meter, but if I would have just held it, we would have been fine. And after taking a timeout, they have to kick a field goal, where I think I'm going to test out the bullet passes on this drive. Even if it's a little bit more inaccurate, I want to be on target with something. And it makes it so hard to fit it in the windows because you have to hold it down to where it's solid like that, but it can be yellow and still hard enough too. I've been trying to avoid even the yellow throws, but it seems like as long as you hit a yellow and your quarterback's decent, it should be fine. There was a flag on the play. I know there is PI of some sort. We are not blaming that on me. And I've been bailed out. That's what I needed. It's so late in the night that my brain's not even functioning right now, but we're going to get almost in the end zone. And I am determined to get Kentucky a championship before I go to bed. I want to kick a field goal. I don't want to get in right now. So that's what we have done. And I think I learned a lot from this game with a win too. What a day for Kentucky. I'm going to start hitting that yellow in the passing meter a lot more. And Mike Johns was even National Defensive Player of the Week. This is actually so much fun learning a new game. And after beating Pitt, we've jumped all the way up to number 3 in the polls. I really think we're good to sim both Toledo and Ball State, maybe even South Carolina, but we'll see how things unfold. I don't have any idea what's going on behind this screen, and auto recruiting must be doing something if we're getting commits. Don't get me wrong, they're not great. They're only 3 stars, but we've beaten both Toledo and Ball State by 4 points each time. I don't know what happened there, and it makes me a little bit worried to sim this one on the road against South Carolina. They're an 82. It's our first conference game, so I don't want to be set back, but our offense seemed to figure it out. It was easier against them than it was against Toledo and Ball State, and I have to see some of these stats from Cutter Boley. He did have one interception, but it's still just fantastic how well he's playing along with Wilcox. And I just can't get over the fact that we have 4 different guys that would be amazing for us starting at running back. That's a real luxury. I do wish Dev Traits had a little bit better of a display, maybe somewhere over on that right panel, because I've forgotten about them in all my dynasties, but Cutter Boley's an impact one. And that's the same for James Amerson, the 5'7" receiver we brought in. I've talked all those guys up before our big game against LSU, and what a surprise, it's another game of the week. Unfortunately, it is an afternoon game, which I'm not a huge fan of. But no matter what it was, I was always going to come out on this first play and try to bomb them deep, but instead I got hit before I could get it out, and that's an interception. Wonderful. This might be the most frustrating thing in the world, and all I can do is just hope that defensively we really step things up. It is 3rd down and they go with the halfback screen, which we're all over. But defense is never the issue. It's always the offensive side of things, and that had a little bit more zip on it. You almost want your passes to be yellow unless you're floating it with a halfback screen, and the blocks just didn't pick up quick enough. And I'm going to test that theory out here when I try to thread the needle between some zones unless I'm about to take a sack, and no, they considered it a fumble. This game is not helping the menu merchant case, and I'm gonna fumble it again. There's actually no way. I feel like I'm playing Donovan Edwards with Penn State and he's Michigan again. They're returning it for 6. Great, it is going to be 10-0. I don't know if I have what it takes to win it all on Heisman. I mean, this roster's as good as it's going to get, and I just need to have enough time to try to thread the needle, but I don't. I might still be dropping back too far. I'm going to have to watch this back and study my own film, but maybe we are going to get the pick 6. Hopefully number 12 does not catch me. And oh my gosh, what a play. We needed this since our offense is dead. Now we still have to finish off the drive, which is not ideal, but I feel like if I held it down for a bullet pass, I could have lasered it in there, and if not, I can step up in the pocket, scramble for a bit more, and slide down. The controls have been learned. Now we're coming out in fullback dive, and I'm running this 3 straight times. Just for fun, I've stayed in that fullback formation in this 3rd quarter, and we're going to pick up the 1st down. But this is where I start to pull out some of the trick plays I probably shouldn't be attempting. I've never run this before, and it did not go for very much. 2nd and 9, this one, I'm just going to take the hitch. If they're going to leave it, I should have held down for longer. And I think what I'm going to do is either hit that slant or that out route here, but their zones have stuck to it pretty well, and late we had the other one. I probably need to run the ball a little bit more too. I'm sure someone will say that in the comments. And I think when you combine all of my learning of the game plus playing on Heisman with a rebuild, some of the small schools that I do first are going to be really hard to fix. They've even gotten this halfback screen for a touchdown. And if this is cover 3, that seam up that middle would be open. It was though, and I just have to take the drag. They played match defense there potentially. I'm literally watching some of this stuff back. That was man-to-man the whole way around. Everything's disguised so much better than it was on NCAA Football 14. And I got so used to just knowing exactly what was being called off of playing the game so much that I stopped reading a defense just naturally, and now we're going to step up and try to fight our way in. Oh boy, I should have probably gone back to the fullback dive here, but I accidentally didn't select it. Hopefully this still works. And with just a couple minutes left in this game, we do have the ball with a chance to actually beat LSU. That was a good spin. But if you can't move the chains, none of that matters, and our halfback is open where he is going to hold on to the football. That was clutch. I've gotten so many drops in this video. I can't believe that he actually pulled that off. And there we go. Just a little bit more power, and you can start to fit things into these windows. That's another dot. So we might be able to actually stay undefeated with Kentucky. That was a decent cut up too. But you all are going to notice it because it's hard to edit around, and sometimes after the play, the camera just kind of changes and jumps back like that. I don't know why. Might just be the build that I have, but what I do know is we are in position to just settle for a field goal. And I'm coming out and QB kneeling on 3rd down because that's all we have to do to get a field goal now. We are going to have at least 1 second left on the clock. And the fact that chew clock doesn't work in this situation makes sense, but it's also frustrating. They don't want somebody to accidentally do that, and then they don't have their opportunity to kick a field goal, but now I have to sit here for like 35 seconds, and I'm just waiting to make sure that LSU has no shot. Let me make sure this is lined up perfectly, and we are going to get the win. I've also noticed a lot of flags with roughing the kicker, but we've declined it. We are going to be improving to 5-0, and the player of the game had to be Avery Stewart because it took me a while to figure things out offensively. Now we have teams like Mississippi State and Texas A&M on our schedule. We're going to play the Missouri one, and it's been kind of weird experiencing the roles completely reversed for what games I want to hop into. On NCAA Football 14, I limited myself to 3 a season because I could go in and win every single one if I wanted, but on this one so far, there's there's probably a better chance we win through simming, and we came out on top of both of those. Now we have Missouri, Alabama, and Arkansas in a 3-game stretch, which means I'm gonna have to pick and choose the ones I hop into there as well. I don't need to play all 3, and Boley is still turning the ball over at an alarming rate. This season alone, he already has 10 interceptions, and not all of those are me, but I might have a couple here because we're about to go on the road at Missouri, and between us, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, there's 4 undefeated teams still in SEC play. Just out of curiosity, it looks like the computer has signed 8 players already on auto recruiting, but only one of them's been a 4-star. So that doesn't seem like a very viable option compared to manually recruiting yourself. It is time for another game of the week though, and Missouri's got a yellow crowd, I guess maybe gold. They're also stealing Kentucky's entire flow by beating a drum like this. Only Kentucky can do it in our intro. And I think this one is about to be tough. I felt like I had to go into kickoff just to take a look at their full stadium. It looks incredible right now. And we have to get a hit stick at least. Maybe we can force a fumble. That didn't happen though. They've already scored a touchdown, but we're working it down the field too. You just can't leave the running back open like that. And motioning this guy across, we're going to fake that and then go for the handoff straight up the middle. I'm using Kansas's playbook in this one. There are some very interesting calls like this quarterback run. And I don't want to pass the ball because of the home field advantage. It makes it very hard to audible any routes or see what's out there on the field. So on this 4th and 4, I'm kind of just stuck with what we already have, and please hang on to that football. We even have a jet sweep coming out of Wildcat. That actually worked better than everything else I've done. And I never like pressing the computer. I'm very scared that it's not going to work. We almost got over to that though, making it a 4th and 2. And I had a feeling that they were going to run the ball, but they got me with that play action. And that was just an incredible play design by the Tigers. Here on 3rd and 16, I'm literally in a cover 4 drop. So if we give this up, I would be so salty. They're throwing it out of the back of the end zone. And right now I'm surprisingly not having much of an issue at just driving down the field and then sliding as well. I had to bring out the Wildcat for 3rd and 1 though. I just had a feeling that this would probably work, and it might have if I didn't just hit the spin button so quickly, but we're still going to be okay. I did drain a lot of clock though with chew clock on. I did not mean to do that. We need this halfback direct to work, and I feel like I've been playing a lot more of these games than any of the ones in the first couple of seasons. I still haven't figured out the perfect balance for this game yet on what I want to show, but I am curious to hear in the comments what you all want to see, especially as I get better at this game, and please tell me we can run for the entire first down. That was a risk that I was willing to take right there. We're still going to make this field goal going up by 8, and I can't believe I just shanked that thing. I feel like I deserve to lose this game. It's just our defense that bails us out. And we're down by a point with 2 minutes left, but you'll notice the backup's in, which is never ideal for a hostile environment like this. That route was supposed to be a streak, and with this formation, there's just absolutely no way that they were going to guard that over on that side of the field. I knew we had it from the start. All we need is a field goal, and what a move. He's also breaking a tackle, and I might as well just take it into the end zone. We wouldn't get the 2-point conversion, but I still feel like it worked out for us because we'd eventually get them to a 4th and 14 that they did not have a chance at picking up. I'm concerned about our backup quarterback being in for the long term though. Obviously, it's not going to be an issue for the ending of this game, but if we're without Cutter for the rest of the year, that greatly affects our chance at a championship. He's not on the injury report. It's only one of our 10 linemen that are like above an 85 overall, so I thought all was fine until I looked at his wear and tear, and he is a -5 throw power at the moment. That really worries me about Sim in this one, but we're in the playoffs until we lose, and it was about time that we picked up a loss. Now we just have Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisville left, which makes me pretty confident that we're about to go 11-1, and I'm fine with that because we only dropped down to number 4 in the polls. The only issue is I think we are going to miss the SEC championship, and the computer's starting to do a little bit better with the auto recruiting. I am a little surprised with how good we are that we have nobody in this Heisman race, but it's a team game, and Oklahoma's a 91 overall, so how are they 5-5? I knew that we were probably going to drop that one before it even started, but that's because it was on the road, and of course the second that I start simming, we are now 1-2. I should have never done that, but I thought we'd take care of business. There's really just no way that we should lose a third game, so I'm glad to see that we won, but 16-9 is kinda concerning. I'm not sure how much I trust Cutter Boley anymore, and I don't know how the 5-way tie works in the SEC, but we could make the conference championship. We must have missed it though, because now a Heisman Trophy winner's popping up, and at least we made the playoffs against the Hokies. We're the 5 seed. They gave it to LSU and Alabama, who ended up finishing 8-5. I'm not sure how they chose it, but all that's important is we're right here, and Michigan's gonna be our opponent if we win. I'm not feeling too confident anymore. Whenever I've had championship caliber teams, the stats look better than this, and through the 3 rebuilds that I've done, I've never seen a 1,000-yard rusher on my team. I have seen some 1,000-yard receivers though, with David Washington really outperforming James Amerson. And let's just go ahead and see if we have what it takes to take down 89 overall Virginia Tech. I think we get to host this one, They do have a good quarterback though, which is a little bit concerning. And I completely lost track of how many game of the weeks we were a part of. Oh, this would be a dream. It is a snow home playoff game for Kentucky. I would fly up from Florida instantly if this ever actually happened. It's going to be a great experience. And Kroger Field, whenever it's covered in snow, looks fantastic. We're in a position where I was hoping we'd get off to a good start, but that has not been the case. At least this pass on third down was going for a lot of yards. And I didn't think it would take us a quarter to get 7. Here on 3rd and 5, I went with man-to-man coverage, but they just handed the ball off and we missed tackles. So they scored again, putting the pressure on us, and I feel like our running back should be open again over there in the flat. With that spin move, he made 3 players miss, and that led to a touchdown, followed up by an interception where I'm hoping that we can get another touchdown as well. But that doesn't always happen, and they are just bullying us on the defensive line, but we're still going to get a lot of yards. Please just finish this drive off. All I want to do is go up by 7, and thank goodness we did there here in the snow. I will say, the more I stare at it, the worse it does look whenever you're sitting here in the middle of the field. I'm not sure why it does. I mean, they have good graphics everywhere else, but that can't be what's on my mind right now. We have to pick up this 4th and 1, and I'm not sure if we had the speed to do it. And this puts our defense in a terrible position. We're giving up a touchdown. All I know is with a few minutes left on the clock, I need to have an amazing drive, and that is not caught. But I feel like it should have been, and they just got an instant shed. That was almost a safety. This might literally be the worst gameplay on YouTube. I don't understand what else I should be doing against the defense. I have finally completed a big pass versus them. That's nice. But I feel like if I stand in the pocket for more than a second, everything just goes to crap. I'm so locked in right now. All we have to do is get a field goal and we'll be just fine. But what happened to our center? 3rd and 8 now. Please, please just get to the marker. This is going to be ugly if we don't pick up this 4th and 1, but we do, I think. And I cannot lose this game. We have finally made the playoffs. I have to do this for Kentucky, and please, please just make sure you snag that ball. What a catch by our tight end. He did not have to hold on to that one. But I'm starting to feel a lot better about the result of this game, and this run's going to take us down to the 1. If we get in here, it's going to give the Hokies a minute to respond back against us, but I'm going to trust our defense. 20 seconds left on the clock now, and we are going to not have a zone right there. I think that's what I was supposed to be on, and they're into the end zone. I'm actually sick to my stomach right now. I can't believe we're going to overtime. And what a first round playoff game, but I was not expecting this. I do like how it pops up the rules. Here's another refresher for you all, and I am about to lock in for this game. This is an exciting moment for Kentucky football. This is a team that could win it all. We cannot be a first round exit, though I'm already missing tackles. They've also hurdled someone, and they're definitely running on this play. We're going to hit him in the backfield though. So a fumble would have been nice. You can see the wear and tear on one of our safeties. That does concern me a bit, but as long as we hold them to a field goal, we should be fine, and that's an interception. Dooley's going to grab that as well. We're going to try to return it. It didn't work, but I can come out and drill a field goal, and we're just going to hand it off here where that outer edge is going to be open with the spin move. We needed one block, and that is game. We're going to the quarterfinals. What a finish to that one. I am so excited to see what we do next. And I knew we were going to win on that drive, but I thought it was going to be by kicking a field goal, not doing that. In order to win it all, though, we have to do that 3 more times. And we always knew that Michigan would be our next opponent. Just looking at the other teams left, we're probably the best 2 there still is. So a lot's on the line here, especially because they are a 90 overall. We're going to be playing them in the Rose Bowl. And I'm being very aggressive, trying to get them off the field here where they didn't hold on to that ball. However, that wasn't good enough for them because they're still going for it on this 4th down, and we're about to get the sack against them. So we were set up to open things right, but right now we're on a 4th and 3 and just go down. The pressure is really on for us to get into the end zone here, and we're going to run away with it. So the freshman that redshirted last year just made a great play. And going into this second quarter, they have a long 3rd and 21. If we give up something here, I'm going to be so upset. There is absolutely no way that they just got to the 30. And that got them a field goal, but we're going for another touchdown, and it might just come right here. We literally used like 4 halfbacks, so you never know which one it's going to be. But if I can tell you one thing, it's that we were just set up for failure there, and I'm hoping they get an arm punt or a catch. No way. There's actually no shot we just held onto that ball. I threw into triple coverage like I normally do, but this has to be the best catch anyone's had on College Football 25. And freshman Joel Willett from Kentucky's playing out of his mind. I don't know if I'll ever see anything like that again. Now we have to focus on getting some points, but we just dropped the ball, and please pick it up. That pretty much just means that this one's going to the half unless that double move worked, and the double move did not work, except we still held on. And how have we made back-to-back good catches? Maybe aggressive catches are that good again? I almost want to test it out on this drive, but I feel like it's such a fluke. I've not had it happen before. And this entire second half has been so boring. Not much has gone on. What I did find out was the aggressive catches were a fluke, and I'm about to throw an interception. But with a few minutes left, we do have a lead, so it's important that we hang on to it, and please don't drop the ball. I just don't understand what else I can do in that situation. I've been dealing with it all day. I also missed the field goal, but we could get them off the field on this 4th and 2, and that's what we're going to do. It's really our defense that saves us time and time again. It's not the offense, but this jet touch pass is going to go for a lot. And I just took things to the 2-minute warning, but I knew they'd probably blitz, so we passed instead of running. On 2nd and 4, they are going to get in the pressure that they were looking for, but our running back is still up. Jack's fighting, and this is the game right here. I'm running the triple option. We just had to pitch it, and come on, Willett, you could seal it for us, which he does. This was the freshman's day, nobody else's. And the clock runs out. Kentucky's moving on to the semifinals. I'm a bit worried about our wear and tear damage, though. It seems like it is starting to add up, and that could have a big toll on the players in the next round. So I'm relieved to see that the Buffaloes are our next opponent. I just can't imagine them being that good. And I was correct. Even though we're down to a 91 because of wear and tear, they're sitting at an 81. With all the players that are partially hurt, we're fortunate that only one of them's having to sit out. But I can tell you pretty much everybody's sitting in this yellow category right now. And I've fought so hard to get Kentucky to this point that losing to the Buffaloes would be heartbreaking. Here on our first drive, we had the hitch route there and they almost picked it off. But those are the types of throws that I'm making at the moment, and we should have just taken our check down earlier. We'd eventually be on a 3rd and 5 where they sent in a blitz, and that makes it super easy to step up and scramble. But now it's time for 5 wide where I'm just hoping that we're able to evade everybody and go down again. I'm honestly really proud about how this entire drive's gone so far. I mean, they have not had an answer. And this is the important one. It's always about how you start, and we're about to get a touchdown. Just a couple more yards now, they blow up the run. But I should have known that they'd probably do that, and I'm gonna have to kick 3. We've wasted an entire quarter to get just 3 points, and I missed. I actually just missed that. They would score immediately after that as well. So you can imagine that I have just been shook up after that play, and we're not holding on. I was so relaxed, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was such a short one. But this time around, I have to actually lock in, and there we go. The problem, though, is they're gonna keep on getting touchdowns. We cannot afford to only have 3 points, and that was the play that we needed. That route was beautiful. I'm not really thrilled that they knocked us out of bounds, but I am confident in our abilities to score. And with 8 seconds left in the half, I'm gonna try to get us into field goal range with a catch. Hitting this 58-yarder would be absolutely massive for us, and it's so late at night. I can't believe that I just drilled that. My brain was not functioning fast enough for it to work, but somehow it did, and we're only trailing by 1. I really don't think I can get through another season without falling asleep either, so if I want to win this championship tonight, it has to come now. And I'm just playing around with a lot of route combos to see what works best. One thing I have started to pick up on is 5 wide is very good, so are the fakes. And we're gonna run this 3rd and 3 play where the drag's open underneath. I floated it, but it didn't matter. I am honestly so stressed right now. I want to win a championship with Kentucky. I've built such a good team, but there's so much time left in this game still. On 3rd and 7, we have to make sure they go out, and I think them taking that field goal was the best thing that could have happened to us in that situation. We're about to end this 3rd quarter with a 4-point lead, and it could be even more, but it won't be because I took a sack, so we're just going to tack on a field goal to make it a 7-point game. And you would think after all the times that play action's done me wrong, I'd just take it out. The best route combos are on it though, that's why I use it. And the game has rewarded us by getting us an interception. That is beautiful. We have an open player in the end zone. What is happening? I mean, the entire game's just turned into a back and forth match. We can't stop each other now. And every time we've scored a touchdown, they've countered in less than a minute. 3rd and 5 now. I really don't want them to get us off of the field, and they're not going to. Thank goodness for that. But I don't think it's over. And because they have 2 timeouts left, it still isn't unless we pick up one more first down, which we just did. That's going to do it for us. We are on to the national championship. Somehow I've taken Kentucky there in just 4 seasons. And our opponent's North Carolina. This is not basketball. This is a football championship. Of all the schools to make it here, this is not what I would have predicted. But they're an 11 seed and an 84 overall, so we should be better. We've made it this far. We cannot lose now. You see our team so excited for the national championship. And I think I want to send in some blitzes to set the tone, but that might not pay off too well for us, and it only does when they run. Here on 3rd and 11, I'm really hoping that they don't pick this up, but they somehow caught it. And that led to a touchdown already, really putting the pressure on us right from the start, but they had nobody over here on this left side of the field, so I took advantage of it. This is Kentucky's moment. I am starting to feel the pressure, pressure, but we're going to make this throw on the run, and it's not caught in bounds. That could have been such a laser. Now we're going to take a sack. And things just seem to fall apart for us at the wrong times all the time, but what a throw. Maybe our defense isn't shown up so far, but our offense is on the board. And they're going back with another jet touch pass trying to run my offense against me. 3rd and goal. I don't even know where my user is, but it led to them getting a touchdown. And I think I got switched on using the switch stick accidentally, and then they had him open, but that's easily a touchdown. I don't even know why they reviewed it, but what I do know is we shouldn't be losing by 7 in North Carolina. And our defense gave up another touchdown after that. It is going to be a 35-point game at this half. Well, they're going to have a 14-point lead. It's just the fact that we have given up 35 points. And the fact that the scoring hasn't stopped here in the 3rd quarter is even crazier. They're pressing our best wide receivers, and they're not going to stick with him well. But they were able to do just enough to where we couldn't break free for another touchdown. And they're going to make us work for our points, which is frustrating. All I want to do is just tie things up again, but I'm going to take a sack. So we have to drill this field goal to stay in it, and we are going to be within 4. The pressure's really on our defense to hold them on this 3rd and 7. I cannot give them another chance. And thankfully they did punt it back to us. They didn't risk going for it on 4th down. That's why they've been able to score so many points. They've been aggressive, going for it on like 4th and 3s over and over, and they've been successful up until that 3rd down. Getting them off the field has been such a challenge that even though I'm playing better than I normally do, I'm still losing, and I think I'm about to take a sack. I don't know why I didn't step up in the pocket. That's what I should have done the entire time. I've also fumbled it away. You've got to be kidding. This is a sick joke. They're going to pick up this 3rd and 2, and now they have an even better chance at winning. National championship on the line. We have to stop the rushing attack. And on 2nd down, we had guys over there to bring him down. This is really it right here. I think they're going to throw the ball. I couldn't imagine them not doing it, and I'm going to have the interception. I've lurked them perfectly with Dooley. There's a chance we win. I would be lying if I wasn't shaking right now. It caused us to have a false start. I was making audibles. And a Kentucky national championship is on the line right now. Please just have one good touchdown drive. This is probably the biggest moment I've had on College Football 25. I cannot mess this up. And it looks like with that coverage, we're going to have the drag open underneath again. We will continue to go underneath with those passes. The real issue, though, is now that we're inside the red zone, I normally struggle to score from here, and I have to take the touchdown. I didn't want to give them that much time, but I didn't have a choice. And I've made some dumb mistakes in this video, but as long as we get the win, that's all I need. And how was he that open? That was literally it right there. We almost just gave up a touchdown. We are so lucky. And whatever we do on this next play, I'm just hoping that we don't give up a lot of yards. I'm going to need someone to generate some pressure there, though, and we did. Here we go. 4th and 20. Surely the computer doesn't have a play for this. We're going to hold them short, and they just bounced off. There's actually not a chance they did that. I am getting robbed in live time. I'm also not getting in pressure quick enough. We somehow have missed that tackle, and now we have to force them to make a mistake. We need an interception like right there. I think they just need a little bit more, and that was a terrible throw. But because they spiked the ball on 2nd down, now they have to go for it on 4th and 6, and we're one hit away from sealing it. We've won it all. This is the best feeling quarterback kneel I have had on this game. And I thought after that tackle was broke that we were about to lose the national championship. Kentucky has won. This is such a sweet moment. I would have loved to have it with them originally, but I had to do the Nebraska one, then the Sam Houston for the 1-star. So eventually, I got around to my favorite team, and that was a crazy rebuild. If we didn't have the freshmen step up in the playoffs, we wouldn't have won it all. And I've finally done Kentucky football right. I did it in 4 years too, which was still shorter than I thought it would be. And if you enjoyed this College Football 25 content from me, then I'm sure you're also going to enjoy some of these other videos that are surrounding me.